Hi, my name's Chris Sias. I'm the commercial specialist with the Paoli Group. We're in Tim Zandi's gallery downtown on Lincoln Street in Steamboat Springs. We appreciate him letting us come in here to film. And with me today is Lisa Popovich. Lisa is instrumental in the downtown retail scene, and maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little about your organization, Main Street.
Sure. I'm Lisa Popovich. I'm the executive director of Main Street Steamboat, which is an economic development tool that is used nationally. So Main Street is a national movement that was born out of the Historic Trust for Preservation. So we believe that by preserving and restoring our historic downtown corridors and then embracing our authentic heritage, it promotes economic development. And honestly, it is the single most effective economic development tool for downtowns across the world.
Gotcha.
So we're really very fortunate here in Steamboat that we have a program like this, and I'm really honored to lead that effort.
Very good. Well, you've done a tremendous job. I mean, downtown versus even 5 years ago has sort of fundamentally changed in a lot of good ways. Overall, you're in touch with the retailers, the restaurateurs. How do you feel like people are doing in the current climate?
So in general, like if you look at our sales tax returns, it looks like everybody's doing great. You're up 5% over last year, and last year we were up over 8% the year before, but in reality, if you look at that, we're not quite keeping up with inflation. So while we're doing well on paper, there are other factors in there. So we're doing okay. Like we're not sending up any red flags, but there are things to look at to make sure that we're making it. And I think that restaurants are feeling it even more than retailers. Because we also have a little bit less visitation this summer.
Right, that's been interesting. It certainly doesn't feel like it if you're down at, say, the farmer's market or on a weeknight. It
doesn't, but it is down significantly.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation with some of the lodging folks who said more or less the same thing, which is the winter bookings are tremendous, but summer's been a little softer. And certainly if you read the trades, it sounds like people are doing some European travel and
there's
making
so many
up for
options.
some pent-up demand.
I don't think it's because they don't love us anymore.
No, I don't think so either. And it's interesting, your point about the data is right. You have to benchmark it against something. I mean, 8% is 8% in a void, but if you put it against what else is going on, that's an interesting point of comparison. As someone who does a fair amount of leasing downtown, it seems like, it's a little different environment. Suddenly there's competition for spaces, which we would maybe see for the absolute A-level stuff, but in general, like just in downtown, even 2 or 3 years ago, prior to the pandemic, I mean, you had to almost like pick someone you really wanted as a tenant and go after them. And the last few leases we've done have been pretty competitive, and it seems like rents are creeping up. And the conundrum here has always been that even the highest market rents that anyone can charge don't support building new retail. You just can't do it. So you have to kind of, find people who have existing retail who are able to get it at a good basis. But do you get the sense that the rents are starting to push the tenants pretty hard, or is there enough uptick in business with maybe some people spending a little more that it's in balance, or hard to tell?
It's an interesting question, and when I talk about historic preservation, we also talk about heritage. And one of the things that really makes us who we are is this spirit of entrepreneurship that happens here in Steamboat, and the amount of locally owned businesses, and sole proprietorships, and people who or even people like Rex Bryce, who, he started out, we used to work at Cipriani's together.
Oh, wow.
Like back in the day.
About time machine,
it's like you just, people who worked really hard to build their little steamboat empire of his multiple restaurants, but they're so deeply rooted in our community. That's when people come to visit us, because that's really like the cornerstone of our economic plan is that tourism is 70% of what we do, right?
Yeah, it's still a major driver.
It really is a major driver. So having that authentic piece is so important. Having that connection to our community. So as rents go up, you have more national retailers who can afford, who want these, they're the ones who can afford these rents. The ones that we do have, several of them are partnerships with the ski area, notably North Face on the corner here. And
I certainly, if you look at Vail Resorts' retail model from a few years ago, they essentially partner with all those brand name companies to bring them to town. I guess effectively as an amenity, right? So that when people come, they can have a Patagonia and Oakley or whatever.
But they're not necessarily profitable.
Right.
And they're not necessarily, like when people come to Steamboat, they want to experience Steamboat. And they want to come to a store that is uniquely Steamboat.
Interesting.
And those are the places they're going to spend money.
I mean, Yampa seems to have become our main restaurant corridor, and the city did invest. I think it was $10 million back in the day.
That was my first project.
Was it? Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I mean, I would think it's one to be proud of. It seems to have been very successful.
I will say it's I'm the most proud. I am the most proud of that.
Okay.
I would say, because that was right when I started my job.
Okay.
That council coming on, talking to all those people leading up to that election and making sure that they understood the importance of Yampa, and then being able to pass that was huge.
Yeah.
Because you can see, it's a game changer. Like, you probably can't remember what Yampa was like. It was much wider. You could go 45 miles an hour down there. It wasn't paved. There weren't any sidewalks. Like, it was the Old West.
Right.
Like,
And now it's quite nice. I mean, it's very walkable.
Beautiful,
and,
very walkable, and just lots of little parks all the way down, and places to sit and enjoy the river. And it spawned all these beautiful restaurants, so now you enjoy the river by sitting on someone's deck and having a cocktail or eating.
Days,
Absolutely, it's very different. Very different, and it's. I can't give you the data, but I can tell you that it has paid for itself.
It certainly seems. I mean, yes,
the project has paid for itself.
So it's interesting, I mean, in a sense, in terms of drawing a visitor base, we started as a ski resort, and fundamentally, that's probably still. I have a lot of clients who call that the main event. Obviously, the mountain.
Absolutely.
And but prior to the last recession, there was a lot of demolition up there. They removed a lot of commercial that they were planning to rebuild. Plainly, with that hole, literally, figuratively. The pendulum swung downtown for a long time, and the city putting the money in, the restaurants, all that. What I've noticed is that when Alterra committed to and actually started spending all that money, I'll use Torrey and Plum as an example. I think there were 4 commercial units for sale in Torrey and Plum that sat on the market 2 years-ish, and when they made that announcement, they all sold in a quarter. It was kind of crazy. So I think, and obviously with the new gondola, they've done their food hall. There is definitely a shift up there. I think it still feels more seasonal in terms of retail. I mean, you definitely have downtowns more of a year-round draw, but where do you think the mountain's headed?
I would say a couple of things. They have big plans.
Yes.
And so downtown sometimes gets nervous because they have big plans.
Right.
We can't exist without the mountain, and the mountain cannot exist without us. I've seen some of the long-term plans, that work with the city and things like that. They're very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And these people are really smart.
Yeah. They are.
They really are. Yeah. They really understand what's going to work.
Right.
I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but they really understand how it's going to need to work together. And it's not going to be like some plans that kind of got floated in the past that were more like steamrollers, and we're going to take it all on and forget about you. This is very, very thoughtful, and it's thoughtful for the growth of the entire city. It's obviously they're a corporation and they want to make sure that they do well, but they understand their part.
Right.
They really do.
Okay.
And I would say more so this particular management group, Alterra, more so than anyone that's been here in years and years. I think you'll see maybe some nightlife up there.
Sure.
I think you'll see more restaurants. I think you'll see some retail, but it will be very different. Okay. I think it'll be very sport and ski oriented.
Right, kind of play
very modern. Where downtown remains more that Western Mecca,
right?
Where that place where the cowboys come, but you also come to get your fly fishing.
Occasionally ride their horses right into the restaurant. Yeah, it's all good.
All that stuff.
So actually, circling back to downtown, I think another thing that's been really successful on your watch is the farmers market, which I think was there, and then suddenly is the thing to do on a Saturday morning,
Yes.
and runs really long. And
Thank you.
I mean, we've even seen a few of the businesses there expand into
Yeah.
full-time locations, which
Yeah.
certainly is a great sign that has been vibrant. But tell me a little about how that's grown and is succeeding.
So it's important to understand that the farmers market, while it's a program that
Yeah.
we do, it's what funds our organization.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so that's what, like, that's what helps me do all the other stuff that we do, which is
Great.
lots of stuff.
So that's
But
actually a nice symbiosis,
it-
right? Yeah.
Well, right,
Yeah.
and I like that's kind of me. I believe in that. Like
Right.
things really all work together. Really
Okay.
important for me to be able to tick 2 boxes or 3 boxes.
Sure.
So part of the idea is that it's a place for you to incubate your business.
Mm-hmm.
But when I took over the position, I've been in position now for 9 years. It's crazy.
That is crazy. Wow. Yeah.
There are 45 vendors, and the board at that time said, you need to grow this market because this is the only way you're going to be able to do your projects
Okay,
is
right.
to grow this market. So we went from 12 weeks to 16.
right.
And this year I have 175 spaces, so I have that means about 200 vendors
Wow.
that circulate
Right,
through.
because everyone's not there necessarily.
Right,
every weekend.
80% of our vendors are there every week.
Okay.
And then the rest of them are very carefully curated
Right.
so that there's fun stuff every week that you might not have seen the week before.
Oh, so you come no matter any
Yeah, so no
weekend
matter when you
there'll
come.
be something
Yeah,
new.
because, if you're here for the weekend, whatever it is, and we
Right.
make sure that, all your food is there. And,
Right, the
and,
staple stuff, yeah.
But if if you live here,
Right.
it's like, we're going to go again this week to get our stuff, but.
Well, my family, I would say, actually
Yeah.
is pretty loyal. and
Yeah,
will go
you guys
anyway.
are there every week.
But yeah, no, but it is nice it's smart to
Yeah.
have something as an
Just
attractor,
something
right?
new to see, but but for us, it helps us to help people grow. And so we talked about, I think you said something about Bjorn
Bjorn's,
Honey.
yeah, the honey,
So
yeah.
Bjorn Honey opened a store here,
Yeah.
but Adorn, people don't know Adorn was at the market
Oh, is
long
that
before
right?
they had a store.
I did not know that.
And now
Okay.
she has 2 stores.
Yeah.
Ohana is at the market, but they opened their store first, but then
Right.
as a result, they moved up to Lincoln Avenue, and now they're opening a second
Right, yeah,
store.
no, that's been a nice story for them, actually. So.
Inclusions Bakery.
Right, okay.
Inclusions Bakery, which is it's gluten-free bakery.
Right.
It's up
Oh, they
in
have
Wild
Wild Horse?
Horse.
Yeah, okay.
Was at the market for 3 years, and then they moved to Stagecoach
Right. Oh,
and opened a brick and mortar store here in Steamboat.
that's
and made
fabulous.
this their home
I mean,
base.
that's to show that it
Yeah,
actually works that
it
well. that you
totally,
can-
and it keeps happening over and over again.
It's been a lovely conversation. I mean, I think one of the themes that one of the reasons I want to talk to you is it seems to me like a vibrant, authentic downtown is great for its own benefit, but it also sort of anchors the community in terms of both locals, I think, go consume and enjoy, and then I think obviously for visitors, we hear very frequently that this feels like more of a community than maybe some of our competitors, if you will. So, I mean, is that consistent with the idea of a Main Street that you would?
That, and that was one of the for me, it's a driving force. It's how I filter lots of decisions. There's still even, we work a lot with other nonprofits. We share our office with other nonprofits. And have partnerships with so many different nonprofits. And then at the market, we provide free space for lots of nonprofits for them to reach out to the community. All those things, like we partner with the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and some of the school organizations. All those things that connect us also make us really interesting as a community and make us, so our number one product is us.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
It really is. Our biggest driver of economic development is us.
Right.
And so people come here, yes, they the outdoors is beautiful and the buildings are wonderful, but Aspen has outdoors and buildings, and so does Crested Butte and Breckenridge and other Colorado communities, but they don't have us.
Right. Well, that's a nice way to put it.
It really is just true. People come, because don't you walk down the street and people just talk with you?
Yes. My children tease me that I know everyone, which is not true, but some days it does feel
Right, and then when people
kind of
come
fun,
to
yeah.
visit, they see that, and then
Right.
they'll be like, well, you seem to know everyone, let me ask you a question, and then
Right.
they feel really important, like an insider, because they got to chat with you, and
Right.
we're all so happy to make them part of our inner circle.
Yeah, no, very definitely. I mean,
So
it's
that's-
nice.
To me, that's the thing that makes us different than I'm sorry, not just the rest of Colorado mountain towns, but the rest of towns like all over the world.
Right.
It's what makes this place the place that it is.
Okay.
It's so special. It's so special.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It's always like to ask. There's always something. So anyway, thank you for spending some time with us. Again, thank you to Lisa Popovich, Executive Director of Main Street Steamboat. And a last thank you also to Tim Zandy for letting us spend time in his beautiful gallery today. Thank you.